Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, December 16th, 2018. One of my favorite Christmas traditions, even more than decorating the tree or hanging the lights, is the temptation of Nikki Newman to get sloshed to make her way through the holiday. It's Nikki taking longing looks at the liquor bottles that are in every room she walks into, looking at the liquor and then smelling the liquor and then finally giving in to the temptation and tasting the liquor. Oh, at first it's maybe just a taste on the tip of the tongue, but later it's a full-on guzzling back. Oh my goodness. What a Christmas tradition. Is this actually the first time all year long in 2018 that we've been treated to Nikki's temptation tradition? I mean, usually Nikki falls off the wagon at least once a year, and I think this might be the first time, right? Well, it is the most popular way of forgetting one's problems, I think. And Nikki has a lot of problems right now. Over the summer, she accidentally killed a man. And then later, she non-accidentally buried his body, or tried to at least. And then this week, Nikki comes home from a long day of kidnapping. She decides to lay down in her bed alone. She happens to look over at the empty spot where Victor's side of the bed is, and there lies next to her is a fully clothed, invisible man. Ah! It's a Christmas horror show. Well, it was a fully clothed, invisible man, or it was just JT's dirty grave clothes minus the JT body. I honestly think I would be more annoyed than spooked. Those dirty clothes on my bed? How disgusting. Can somebody please call Bonnie and have these removed immediately? I want all of the bedding stripped off. I want the mattress steam cleaned. No, forget it. I'm Nikki Newman. I want the whole bed removed. Just bring in another one. I hear there's a new mattress store in town that everyone's raving about. All of this stress is shaking Nikki to her core. She's been sneaking swigs of any liquor that she can get her hands on. She falls right off the wagon and into a glass of peppermint schnapps at Mia's apartment. Nikki has decided this week that what she needs to do is try to get close to Mia. She figures the best way that she can get info about what info Ray has on them is to get close to his wife. And I thought their scene was kind of great. They've got a little mutually beneficial friendship indeed. One might call it a beautiful friendship that's developing there. Nikki alludes to being able to help Mia fast track her Genoa City beauty business. And Mia alludes to the fact that she will try to convince Ray to back off of her and off of Nikki and her family in his investigation. Now, I know I've been trying to draw this parallel for weeks now, but we saw a different side of Mia this week. And you know who she's really starting to remind me of? Hillary. I I know I've been saying over and over the past several weeks that maybe Carrie could be seen as a replacement Hillary, although I was talking more in terms of Carrie picking up storyline scraps that the writers had intended for Hillary. But in terms of personality, I think a pretty good parallel to draw is between Hillary and Mia. I mean, if you think about it, Mia is bold. Mia is boisterous. She's all about her career. She is all about seeking attention in the same way that Hillary was. And sometimes that can even be negative attention. I mean, we saw that so many times with Hillary. But also, like with Hillary, we also saw a glimmer of a vulnerability with Mia this week. And that, to me, is what makes her likable. And I think in the future, that's what's going to make her redeemable. Because she's going to do something bad. Bet on it. It's coming. And it's going to be big. And it's going to be bad. And it's going to be revenge-filled. But because Y&R took a moment to show us having a human moment with Mia crying in the mirror, taking off her makeup, don't you almost kind of understand why, like Hillary, Mia is starting out in a new community and she has no friends. She really has no ties. And she also really has no one to share her victories with, and it's in large part her own fault. When it came time to share the news with the only people who she really knows in town, Abby, Arturo, Lola, Kyle, about her big new client, Nikki Newman, something that she was very proud of, no one really gave her the respect and the pumping up that she was looking for. And it's because she's so selfish 99% of the time. And also because Abby was sitting at the table. But I feel like I understand Mia a little bit better this week. Even her own husband is absent a lot on her. And that has to be very lonely. She said something to the effect of, I feel most lonely with you. And so when Ray found out that Mia and Nikki had had a beauty consultation and that Mia had talked to Nikki about his investigation, he really erupted at her. And it had the effect of tearing away any of the remaining shreds of confidence that she had. And now Ray can be perceived as being unsupportive. Just add him into the mix of people who are unsupportive and unrespectful of the life that she's trying to build, the career that she's trying to build. And it's really only because Ray's trying to tell her the truth. Nikki's not your friend. She is using you. He's right. Ray is right. Nikki is using Mia for more than her beauty tips. It's quite clear. I loved Nikki and Mia's rapport, though. I really did. When Mia was fluffing up Nikki's hair in the mirror, and they just seemed to have this instant mutual understanding. Like, Nikki was trying to be subtle but clear about how her husband's best interest connects in with Mia's husband's best interest. And Mia seemed to get that. And she seemed to accept what was going on there. I also really have to say that I thought Nikki looked really good when she left Mia's apartment. She was positively glowing. But it was probably also because Nikki was lit up brighter than a Christmas tree. An ominous word of warning from Arturo to Abby. He tells her, when Mia gets hurt, she fights back. And she fights back ugly when you least expect it. Maybe you should have chose your words a little bit more carefully, Abby. Abby does not need any enemies right now. She does not need anyone secretly plotting her downfall when she's trying to launch a new business. Abby can't help but notice that Genoa City, even with all those skyscrapers, does not have a single late night venue. This boring Wisconsin burg shuts down at like 8 p.m. So Abby wants to use the building she just bought to establish a new scene that's a restaurant during the day and a nightclub at night. Fabulous! Meanwhile, Lola's food truck has broken down. She has struck a deal with Sharon to make some money serving food at Crimson Lights on the patio and then share the profits. I thought that was a great idea too. But Abby had a bigger idea in mind. Abby pitches this whole club idea to Devon. Abby wants to get Devon involved so she can use his music industry connections for the late night club part, maybe even have some partnerships. And Abby tells Devon that she would like to have Lola become the chef of the restaurant part. But Abby doesn't tell Lola anything about this. I'm not exactly sure why. And Devon loves the overall idea, but he doesn't want to commit to it unless Abby brings on a big name chef, someone who is established and who can create a draw all on their own, because restaurants fail so noticeably and so frequently. So Abby, rather than taking no for an answer on the Lola part, she decides to turn the no that Devon has given her into a yes, and Abby arranges for Lola to do a private, anonymous catering gig for Devon. Lola doesn't realize that it's a job interview, and Devon doesn't realize that Lola is the chef. So it's the night of this private dinner event at Devon's penthouse. Lola has hired Finn to be her server, which is good because Michael and Lauren have finally served up some tough love with him, telling him, okay, we will forgive your college debt. We'll call that even. We'll even let you stay with us for a few months, but you're not gonna sponge off of us. If you want to be an artist, you're going to have to live the artist's lifestyle, and that might mean slinging some sandwiches for Lola and doing some dishes and scratching and clawing for every opportunity to market yourself that comes your way, including slipping Devon Hamilton your demo during dinner, and also including flirting with Devon's sister, Anna, during the meal. Risky move, Fenn. Very risky. It ticked Abby and Lola off big time that he would dare use this event as an opportunity to promote himself, but I will give him points for being bold. You may only get one shot with Genoa City's Bruce Wayne, Devon Hamilton, so he had to take it. I can't say I totally blame him. Besides, Lola is such a little star. She doesn't really need help from anyone. The results of the blind taste test were a smash success. Devon and Anna had nothing but good things to say about Lola's food, just as Abby knew they would. So after the dishes are all cleared and after the deal is struck, Devon agrees to go ahead and get involved in this club idea with Abby. Abby reveals the true identity of her chef to Devon and also reveals the job offer to Lola at the same time. And it was a little bit funny watching Abby try to maneuver her way around the fact that she totally manipulated both of them, but it was for a really good cause, and aren't I kind of clever? I liked Abby in that scene, and I'm glad that both of them accepted it. Yay! Please tell me we are actually going to see this place. I have a feeling that we will. It sounds like this new club, not sure what the name of it's going to be. Is it La Vida Lola or is it something else entirely? I don't know, but it sounds like it's sort of going to be a replacement for the underground, maybe with less dinge. Like with Abby's style and Devon's hip cool vibe and Lola's shrimp, this place is gonna be a hit. Okay, Sharon, for 3 weeks now you've remained surprisingly neutral on Mariah's relationship with Tessa and whether or not Mariah should stay with Tessa. Then this week you helped kidnap Tessa to see if she knew anything about the whereabouts of JT's body, insisting the entire time that Tessa was innocent, didn't know anything about it. Then you got home and apparently for some reason out of the blue you decided that you must do everything in your power to keep Mariah and Tessa apart to save Mariah from the long con of Tessa. I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm just saying it came on quick. This week's poll question. Should Sharon try to put a stop to Mariah and Tessa's relationship? That's what I'd love to have answered this week at yrchat.com. I think it's pretty clear that Y&R has shifted pretty dramatically into deciding to use Sharon as a challenge for Mariah and Tessa's relationship and to launch Tessa's redemption story. But I don't need Sharon to challenge Mariah and Tessa's relationship in order to launch Tessa's redemption story. What needs to happen in order to redeem Tessa are some private, vulnerable moments with her. No one else in the room, no chance that she could be manipulating the situation to look a certain way, just an honest moment by herself to show me who she really is. The way that we saw Mia crying in her makeup mirror this week. We need a moment like that with Tessa. The one moment that came close to that this week was watching Tessa blubbering in the back seat of Victoria's car, begging for her life, thinking that she's about to get murdered and then dumped into the cold Wisconsin woods in the middle of December to find her way home somehow. Hope she doesn't freeze to death. Hope she has cell phone reception. The frozen breath effect was really cool though. Like from a special effects perspective, I thought those scenes looked really cool, and that frozen breath coming off of everyone's mouth helped match the kind of coolness and coldness of what was actually happening there. Kidnapping Tessa felt cruel and cringy to me. I think that the actress did a wonderful job of really letting go and leaning into the fear and not being afraid what it looked like, just being truly terrified. But I also don't buy Tessa as a delicate flower. She chose to start tangoing with these women who she perceived as killers in the first place. And I also think that she was never really in any danger. Nikki and Victoria and Sharon weren't actually going to kill her. It was a technique to try to scare the truth out of someone who lies for a living. And the lines between Tessa's lies and truths have become so blurred to me that I cannot tell anymore. Tessa was way more shaken up after being kidnapped by people that she blackmailed than she was when she was physically beaten and bruised by her own blackmailers. Y&R has done an exceptionally bad job with the character of Tessa, and Y&R has done an exceptionally bad job of making me want Tessa and Mariah together. They turned Tessa's entire run on the show so far into a con, and every word that has come out of Mariah's mouth since she found out about it has essentially been, I don't trust her, but I love her. Okay. Then you're gonna get what you're gonna get, Mariah. It's kind of a pathetic look on Mariah. Plus, I'm sorry, but the issue of Mariah and Tessa's relationship is emotionally separate from anything that had to do with the blackmail or the kidnapping or anything else. Mariah was ready to break up with Tessa. When she gets Tessa's call, Mariah runs into the rescue and totally changes her mind about the breakup. What Nikki and Victoria and Sharon just did to Tessa has nothing to do with the trust issues that Mariah has been expressing to anyone and everyone who will listen to her. It makes no sense. The fact that Mariah tossed aside all of her very valid concerns the moment that she got that call tells me two things. Number one, Mariah was just waiting for an excuse or a reason to stay with Tessa. And number two, Mariah is so thirsty to be loved and to be needed that she will drink sand in the absence of water. Passion is great fuel for a soap opera relationship, no doubt, but eventually there has to be something more substantive. Trust, partnership, faithfulness, something other than attraction. I don't know. I've always said Y&R is like a blank screen onto which we project our own values. My view is probably speaking more to my own station in life. If I were Mariah's mother, I would have said the exact same things to Mariah that Sharon said to her on Friday, finally, only I would have said them the moment that I found out that Tessa had been conning my son. But Mariah is so, I think, attracted to and mesmerized by Tessa. And I don't blame her. Tessa is mesmerizing. She's beautiful. She's intriguing. She's a little bit mysterious. But Mariah is so intoxicated by her that she can't see how potentially destructive this relationship could be for her. In addition to the fact that she is setting herself up for more potential heartbreak if Tessa does turn out to be using Mariah for some currently unknown to us reason. But more importantly, Mariah is going to let her attraction to Tessa and her relationship with Tessa come in between her and her mother. And again, this is just my station in life. Maybe a younger Allie would have viewed this differently. But there is no lover who is worth this. Ever. I mean, I get it. You know, I think a lot of it probably is driven by attraction. The sex is good. When you find somebody who really knows how to push your buttons, it is very hard to turn around on that. But it's just not worth it in the long run. I'm just old and tired, I think. But at this point, I I've seen how hard Mariah and Sharon have fought to have the relationship that they have. I can see that Tessa's going to become a wedge in between them, and that's very difficult for me. Mariah is the gift of a daughter that Sharon never knew that she had, and Sharon is the gift of a family that Mariah never knew that she needed. It took years for Mariah and Sharon to have this relationship. It took years for Mariah to ever even call Sharon mom. And I personally will be very disappointed if it takes only weeks to destroy all of that over a lover. I just don't know. I don't think Tessa's trying to do that on purpose. That's not the vibe I'm getting. But I wouldn't put anything past her. She has no track record for me to trust her. I think Tessa is not entirely without good qualities, but I also think that Tessa is just one of these people who cannot get out of her own way. And Y&R is just simply going to have to show me some more character development and growth if they want me to feel any different. This week, Reed returns with his music school man bun hair. Oh my, he's still a cutie, but that hair, I don't know. Oh, Reed is looking for answers, though. He's very determined. He wants to know what has happened to his father. Meanwhile, Grandma's kicking a bag that contains JT's burial attire under the couch. Ugh. It's so gross. Reed tells Victoria and Nikki that he's home from school early because he intends to find out what really happened to his dad. Oh no, we can't let that happen. But Reed had an interesting little moment where he decided to meet with Billy. Billy is someone who Reed has always been able to count on as leveling with him. Billy is someone that Reed's been able to talk to as an adult-ish, but really Billy doesn't know any information that he can give to Reed, but Billy does go to Victoria and clues her in that Reed could be on the verge of a problem here. Billy and Victoria really are just growing closer. That's all that was intended to do. Reed went to Billy so that Billy could go to Victoria and then share a little wine with her, have some chatting about family, almost like they were completely back together. Oh, how long is Reed on the show for? Do we know? Is he doing a couple days, weeks? Is it a full-time gig? I'm not sure. But I did like that Y&R worked in a little scene between he and Maddie. They met after a very long time and a little troubled romance that they had, and they were able to come together and just talk about how they were feeling. They've both got some stuff going on. Reed talked a little about his dad. Maddie talked a little about her mom, and then Kane got there and gave Reed dagger eyes to try to get him to leave. Maddie was so upset and humiliated, you know? I mean, nobody wants their dad to come in and be all judgmental and make their guest feel uncomfortable. This would have been one of those situations that Lily would have understood and have been able to smooth over all around. But Kane is seriously, he's 0 for 0 with his children this week, treating Maddie like she's his ward, which I guess she is technically, but not giving her the credit for being the good girl that she is. And also, what was that scene of him photobombing Charlie's shirtless pic that he was trying to send to Shauna? That was embarrassing. I was embarrassed for Kane. I mean, it's hard not to empathize with him a little bit. I gotta give him a little credit for trying with his kids, but he's totally lost touch with them, and he's totally lost touch with any type of coolness whatsoever. Kane is in fact the opposite of cool. He is becoming totally uncool. He did apologize to Devon this week, though, about his uncool behavior when it came to sending Shauna away. But Kane also still finds these really subtle, passive-aggressive ways to question Devon's decision-making skills about his business. Where does he get off? Weird theory, but is there any chance that Kane could be somehow involved in the JT thing? He was the last person to see JT alive before he went to Victoria's house, and they had a little friendship going on. I don't know. I'm only thinking it because I know that Y&R has got to do something with Kane besides making him a nag. And that idea occurred to me when Kane was meeting with Victoria, and Victoria was encouraging Kane to let their kids see each other. It was nice to see Kane have some self-awareness there in that scene. He realizes that he is totally out of touch with his kids' lives. Earlier in the day, he totally blew it when the kids tried to convince him to decorate the house for Christmas. And it was surprising because I think that the fact that Kane didn't jump on board with something that would have been a family tradition really shined a light on his pain, on what he must be going through. Kane feels guilty celebrating in any way with Lily in prison in pain. And it is just so clear to me that this is a man who loves his wife. His life is centered around his wife. He is so spiritually connected to her even when he's not with her. But he also has an obligation to the kids to carry on the family even when she's not there. So I was so happy to see him change his tune and show up with that big Christmas tree. You know, I love a man with a big Christmas tree. You got any packages for me to put under that tree, Kane? On Monday, Phyllis burst through the door of Rebecca Barlow's hotel room to stop what was going on between her and Nick. I think that says a whole lot about Phyllis's trust level, or lack thereof, in Nick. Phyllis didn't trust Nick to make the right decision. She had to go butting up into that room, making herself look bad. She had to explain herself to this client that Nick was actually her boyfriend. It's surprising that Rebecca Barlow decided to go ahead and seal this deal with Jabotique, even though she wasn't able to seal the deal with Nick. So she was so forgiving of what Phyllis and Nick did, or were trying to manipulate her into signing this contract, but she couldn't handle Devon's little miscommunication with her at his penthouse the previous week. Oh, I don't know. She's not the main story. Anyway, Phyllis and Nick are definitely not the secure power couple that they want the world to believe they are. And I'm also not so sure that Billy really wants Phyllis back, though. I think Phyllis wants the world to believe that Nick is it for her, and I think Billy wants the world to believe that he wants Phyllis back so he can lull her into a false sense of security. That was our poll question of the week last week. I asked you, do you think that Billy is playing games, or does he actually want Phyllis back? The majority vote, 94%, said he wants her out of Jabot. He doesn't really want her back. That seems, again, like one of those extremely skewed results. It seems like every poll that I post that has anything to do with Billy and or Phyllis is automatically voted for in droves, and I feel like it skews the results. I don't know who's doing it. Like, is there some secret Billy, Phyllis, opinionated Y&R group that's like flocking to Y&R Chat to vote in these polls? I don't know, but if you're doing it, stop. It's annoying. I feel like that's not totally representative. Most votes are a little closer. But I don't know. It represents my opinion. I think that Billy's playing games. He's insisting to Jack that he wants Phyllis back, and I don't buy it. He also was meeting with Phyllis to talk about the contract that she just won. This was a celebration of something that they accomplished together. And on the surface, Billy thinks that they might be there to discuss a reunion, but Phyllis has to turn him down. She tells him, we're working together really well, but we're not getting back together. The damage has been done. There is no going back. Phyllis returns the 5 gold rings that Billy gave her as a Christmas gift last year, just to really drive home the point. Those rings that she didn't give him back when they broke up like months ago. She just decided to give those back now for dramatic effect. Nice. Nice, Phyllis. Way to really twist the knife. But Billy's takeaway from that conversation apparently was that he believes Phyllis does still care for him, does still want him, because she didn't exactly deny that. She never said, I don't want you anymore because I don't love you. But she did mention the fact that if they were to get back together, what kind of mother would that make me? If I took you back, what would that say about me? And if that's, if it's true, that's very telling on Phyllis's part, that she's not with Billy, not because she doesn't want to be, but because she feels she can't or shouldn't be. And you shouldn't. He slept with your daughter. You shouldn't. Absolutely not. They agree to keep working together. Probably they're going to be putting in all of those long hours during the day. And then Phyllis is going to go home to Nick at night and try to convince herself that this is the life she really wants, when the life that she really wanted 2 months ago included Billy. I just don't see how they could get back together now. I don't question that Phyllis still wants Billy. I think she does. And I believe that Billy wants Phyllis sexually. Here again, this is a relationship that's now based only on passion. There's nothing substantive there anymore. Their relationship was born out of this very risky affair that they had when she was married to his brother. And here they are now, kind of poised for another one, right? They could be having another affair, and that's kind of what they get off on. I mean, you can have the sex, but anything more, I'm just not sure about. For Billy, I really do think that there is another agenda at play here, though. I think Billy wants Phyllis out of that company. He's made it very clear. And even though everyone else has stopped vying for that top spot of CEO of Chabot, I don't think Billy has. If Genoa City businesses closed their doors at 8 p.m. every night, like Abby was complaining about this week, then it's probably because of fuddy-duddies like Jack and Kerry choosing to be up and out for 8 a.m. breakfast dates and business meetings instead. Jack calls Carrie for a dinner date, and she counters with an 8 a.m. breakfast date. That should have been a red flag right there. Nobody needs to have a potential boyfriend or girlfriend in their face at 8 a.m. for a second date. I am certain that that's the real reason why she decided to stand Jack up. 8 a.m. is way too early for romance. I haven't even had my third cup of coffee at 8 a.m., okay? Oh. Honestly, I was glad to see Jack confront her. He may be a fuddy-duddy, but he deserves better than to be left hanging. She stood him up. he went to Jabot, found her working away perfectly fine in one piece. She also wasn't answering his text messages. She completely ditched him in the rudest possible way. And then she's just there working in his company, the company his father founded, as if nothing was wrong. I was impressed with how Jack stood his ground. And he said to her, look, I just wanted you to be honest. Like, either you're not interested in me, which is rare, but I suppose it's possible, or you're just playing games with me and I'm not into playing games. Then he honestly, he just turned around and walked out the door. And then when she chased him into the hallway asking for forgiveness and giving some excuses, vague excuses, I expected Jack to cave in right then and there, give her a big old smile, ask her out on another date, become all sentimental, and no, he just thanked her for her apology, got on the elevator, and left. Well played, Jack. Well played. But then he went home, arranged an Abbott family Christmas tree decorating party for two. Isn't it a little bit soon to be inviting Carrie to all of these Abbott family holiday traditions? They've only had the one Thanksgiving date, the one date that she stood him up for, and now they're decorating the Abbott family Christmas tree together? You know what, though? If Carrie is on the up and up and she's not up to something shady, I don't hate the even-keeled, highbrow, kind of intellectual chemistry between them. It's subtle. I mean, it's not rip your clothes off and let's do it up against your dad's old bookcase. Hot sex kind of chemistry. It's more, here's a glass of wine, let's talk philosophy and science and hold hands and get nerdy under the mistletoe. It's fine with me. It's fine with me maybe because Carrie is the total opposite of Jack's last love interest, Phyllis. Carrie's less red and more beige. Or so far she is anyway. Damn it though, I don't know. I still wonder if Carrie is working for Phyllis. I don't know. She just feels to me like maybe she might be hiding a secret. When Jack asked her why she ditched their date, she made some comment about how her life is complicated. What does that mean? On Thanksgiving, when they were getting to know each other, she made her life sound pretty basic. So now it's complicated? Why? Lugubrious. It sounds like a goonish, like, gangster world, like lugubrious, like the first name Lou, last name Gubrious. You know, go down to the docks and find lugubrious. Oh, when we last left our lugubrious lovers, definition of lugubrious: looking or sounding sad and dismal. Yes, that certainly does describe Mariah and Tessa, doesn't it? It was Kyle who said that line during a catch-up session with Mariah. He was waiting to get the scoop on where we were when we last left our lugubrious lovers. Quite a few of you actually guessed that, so congratulations, Superplex. Joanne, Anna, Jamie, Cherie, Sandra, Susan, Henry, Diana, Liz, and Ambreen. Congratulations, you guys all got it right. How about this little snippet of a line? It's kind of funny for this week. Full circle of bliss. Sounds nice, doesn't it? The full circle of bliss. Do you know who said that? Because if you do, you should go to yrchat.com to leave your guess. And if you get it right, next week I will give you your shout out on Y&R Chat. Oh my, 3 pages of comments. Let's dig in. Starting with Tanya saying, that was funny and cute when Kyle embarrassed Lola and told everyone about her new job. I know, Tanya, that was really cute. I mean, he stood up on the table and announced that he was going to give free drinks to the entire coffee house in honor of Lola. I probably would have been so embarrassed. But it was cute. I mean, I love how much he loves her. Anna says, I wish Lola would have said no to Abby's offer. What happened to owning her own restaurant with her own name on it? I thought the exact same thing, Anna. I was absolutely thinking that throughout the week. But then at the very end, I was kind of starting to get the vibe that maybe the restaurant will be La Vida Lola. Like Abby is sort of giving her own restaurant, but she wouldn't own it. No matter what, she's not going to own it. I guess it's just because the food truck broke down, and I mean, that right there is just a plot device. Y&R wanted to fast track Lola into her own restaurant, I suppose. But yeah, I really thought the same thing. When Abby was going to the trouble of arranging that anonymous private dinner, I thought to myself, well, what if at the end of all this, Lola says no and says, well, thank you for the opportunity, but I have my own plans. She's been so strict with talking about her own plans, and she really did just kind of compromise them there. Even if it says La Vida Lola on the menu, she still isn't really owning the business. She's just working for Abby and Devon, which is not what she wanted. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Leslie says, I am from the Wisconsin area. The salsa at Mexican restaurants is more bland than tomato juice. Lola's food would not go over well here unless the cheese sells it. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of Mexican food around where I live too, and some of it's good. Like if you can find almost a little hole in the wall for Mexican food, it's actually decent and flavorful, but a lot of it is bland. I agree with you there. Not a big salsa fan though. I just want to eat chips and guac. If I'm going appetizer, I'm going chips and guac. Hey, speaking also of cooking, Diana says, hey, we finally got to see Devon's kitchen after all of these years. That was nice to see. I saw it and then that didn't even register to me as, oh, that was a new set. Nice. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Oh, here we go, talking about Mia. Robbie says, the Mia scenes this week were amazing. I felt so bad for her after Abby was teasing her. She really has hopes and dreams for a better life, and I feel all of that from the actress. When Ray told Mia that Nikki would never be her friend, the look on Mia's face broke my heart. I know, you and me both, Robbie. I felt bad for Mia, absolutely. And we also had Arturo following that scene up where Abby was teasing Mia by saying, you know, she's just like everybody else. It was clear that Arturo was defending Mia a little bit, like, hey, she's not just bold and boisterous. There's something there. She's a human being. She has feelings too, and she has hopes and dreams too. And yeah, it did. You could see the moment where her heart was breaking after Mia finally reconnected with Ray. They slept together this week, and for Ray, that's not just sex, that's intimacy. So this was a scene where they were connecting for the first time in years, and it was followed by a really big letdown. I honestly, in that scene though, was surprised that Mia was so subtle about what she was talking about with Nikki, because I got the impression from when Mia was talking to Nikki directly that it was clear. that Mia was going to try to maybe get information from Ray even and feed it back to Nikki. But then when Ray and Mia were lying in bed, she was really more just kind of trying to get Ray to back off of the Newmans. And then he flipped out, of course. He was extremely harsh with her. I mean, he really was angry about it. I think we saw some aggressiveness out of Ray that we really hadn't seen before. Not in a violent way or anything, but just he was upset about it too. So now I'm wondering, though, if Mia, as Arturo foreshadowed, is going to have some revenge plans that are going to extend beyond just Abby, probably sabotaging her restaurant somehow. Lola be damned. But I'm also kind of wondering if Mia is going to start to find some ways to actually sabotage Ray's investigation and to help the other women. It's a question of how bad does Mia want it? How bad does she want her career? This just has so many shades of Hillary to me. It just sounds like it. I mean, I feel like we've kind of been here before with this type of character. It's intriguing, though. Laura was not feeling the same way about Mia, though. Laura says, I had the opposite reaction. I wanted Mia to be stronger, to smile, and to congratulate Lola, and to not reply to Abby's petty dig. I wanted her to respond to Ray by saying, of course I know the game she's playing. Do you think I'm stupid? Then I wanted her to be that much more determined to succeed in her endeavors. Strong women like Mia can have their moments of weakness, but use the strife to feed their determination. I suppose Y&R is saying that the strife makes her unstable. From what Arturo said about the importance of placating Mia, we should expect a chaotic warpath. Yeah, I mean, I know. I think that maybe this is the balance. Maybe Y&R is showing us that sensitivity in Mia this week because they're going to show her on a warpath next week, and we need to understand emotionally why. It's not uncommon for characters to do very bad things, and I think that's what Mia is about to do, something very bad. But I think part of the trick in creating some longevity is to make the audience understand why they're doing it. I feel like taking the time this week to establish Mia's vulnerability is going to help us understand why she's doing whatever it is that she's about to do next week. Heather says, I was glad to hear Abby approaching Devon as a mentor. Arturo and Abby have been meh together. Devon has issues, and Abby's new project gives him something to focus on, like puzzle pieces fitting together. A Devon and Abby pairing would fit especially if Arturo and Mia get together, right as Ray and Sharon try to make it work. I did have a flicker of that too, Heather. I was thinking that Abby and Devon might end up picking up a little something in this process. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I like Arturo. He's fun. He's got a good little flair. They have a good little banter. But maybe a triangle with Abby would be something entertaining to watch. And yeah, but Arturo and Mia, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to see them together. Like, maybe because they're just both new characters and it's not as, I'm more interested in pairing off our more established characters, but I still think Mia and Billy would be hot. So I'd rather move her in that direction. And yeah, Ray and Sharon. Y&R didn't follow up on that very much this week, but it's coming. Well, a follow-up from last week, I had asked a question about how Anna knew about Devon's prescription being in the briefcase. I must have just blipped out or something, but Phaedra left a comment here that I thought I'd make sure to present so everyone can kind of get on the same page there. Phaedra says, after Devon asked Anna how she knew about the prescription in the briefcase, she mentioned to him that she was looking for some important documents that needed his immediate attention. She went inside the briefcase to find them, and that's when she saw the prescription bottle and recognized that it was for panic attacks. So that clears that up. Thank you very much, Phaedra. Oh, how about Anna and Fen. Astra says, I think Fen and Anna are going to be a singing pair. I don't think it's a coincidence that they both came into town at around the same time and they both want to make it in the music business. Yes, definitely that was a hint. Bringing two new characters on to hook up at the same immediately is a little bit different, right? Usually we get new characters that mix up with our more established characters. Two new characters might be a little hard to get into, but you know what though? They sure do have some different personalities, because Anna comes off to me as a little naive, innocent, very, very sweet girl, and Fen's a little more conniving, but perhaps in a sexy way. Shelly says, I have a question, Allie. If it's considered appropriate and acceptable for Jack and Kerry, who are clearly decades apart in age, to begin a romantic relationship, then is it not equally appropriate and acceptable for me in my mid-40s to think Fen is a little hottie? I say, Shelly, hell no. I think you go for it. There's no reason why you can't find, what is he, 20-something? There's no reason why you can't find him attractive. Absolutely not. It's like, you know, I mean, we age older, but that doesn't mean we have to stop recognizing the hotness of youth. Absolutely not. I say you go for it. If Fen is the type of guy who lights your fire, then you tune into Y&R every day and you hope that that fire is burning. Oh, Leslie says, I like new Fen too, a lot. Carrie, not so much. They haven't done a great job of introducing her in a manner to warm us to her. From the start, her playing with Billy and Jack regarding their job offers came off poorly. I don't think it was cutesy like the writers expected. We need more from her, and blowing off Jack made their job of liking or even loving to hate her tougher yet. Yeah, I know. We just haven't had, there's more to peel away from Carrie for sure. Gary was also commenting on how Jack told Carrie, I love your grace, your charm, your wit. And Gary says, what? Have we really seen grace, charm, wit from Carrie? That's a legitimate question. I think maybe we haven't seen so much of that yet. I think that most of the reason why I feel okay with Carrie and Jack is because I like to see Jack happy. I love any smile that goes onto Jack's face. He hasn't had a real love interest since Phyllis, and Phyllis broke his heart pretty hard. She stomped all over it. So, yeah, just seeing the shots of Jack being happy at the Abbott house, especially after everything he went through with his paternity, I think that's why I'm more inclined to accept it, not so much for Carrie's personality, her charming, witty personality. Daisy says, I don't like Jack being paired with Carrie. He's too old for her. And he didn't even ask her out on a date. He just asked her to his home twice. I would have thought that Jack's boohoo fest would have been a turnoff for her. So it makes me wonder if Carrie is spying on Jack for someone. Maybe Victor, to keep tabs on Dark Horse. That would be an interesting twist if it's true. Yes. Carrie's up to something. I just don't know what it is yet, but I hadn't connected it to Victor. That's a good theory, Daisy. Oh, let's talk about that little scene with Kane and Victoria. Diana says, I would like to see Kane and Victoria get together romantically and become a couple. I've wanted to see Kane with a new partner for a while. I know you're against that, Allie. I think it would be a nice change, though, especially now that Lily is not on the show full-time anymore. Well, I'm not altogether against it. I just don't know how Y&R would approach it. Kane's either going to have to leave Lily while she's in prison, or Lily's going to have to inexplicably decide to leave Kane while she's in prison. I'm not quite sure how they're going to do away with the Lily-Kane relationship in order to transition him to someone else. If Lily and Kane, even though I love them as a couple, if they would have broken up at any point along in history, I would have been fine to see either of them paired with someone else. I'm not too particular about who I need to see with who. I just like it to be appealing and fresh, and yeah, I'd be okay with Victoria and Kane if the writers could find a way to pull it off. I don't know if they will, though. I think it seems like they're moving Victoria back into Billy's arms. Oh, let's talk about JT. Superplex says, I have my doubts that JT is still alive. It just seems to me that JT made it out of his burial ground alive. The logical approach that he would adopt would be to celebrate the fact that everyone thinks he's dead. That would allow him to live the rest of his life without the need to fear the authorities that are coming after him. Yes, that is logical. But I feel that logic is just tossed out the window with this stupid storyline. The only reason that I'm leaning toward JT still being alive is because I just don't see that Y&R is going to drop the investigation against the women, and I also don't see that they're going to send any of them to jail. I just think that the only at all reason why I think that that's the case, and it defies logic entirely, you're correct, it's just the fact that I think it would be an easy tie-up for Y&R. All they have to do is make JT alive, and it wipes away all of this mess. Nobody has to go to jail. There's no real consequences. We've been on the journey, dust off your shoulder, we're done, boom. Moving on. I mean, that's the only thing I can think. Because otherwise it's just continuing to drag out. How can it possibly drag out any longer? How can it possibly drag out any longer? Don't get me started. But Marianne says, I still think JT's dead, and I think Ray's behind all these things happening to Nikki. He probably found JT, but didn't reveal it to anyone, and he's leaving clues for Nikki to get her to confess. So yes, Marianne and Superplex, I think you guys are both sharing that theory, and Daisy as well from last week, that Ray is the one who's behind all of this. That's possible. I mean, I think that would probably create a dramatic ending to the story, and then JT's body's never found and it all just goes away. Someone tell me how they end this. How does Y&R get us out of this? What's the easiest and quickest path out? Because that's all I want. At any cost, I want out. Connor says, I just have this funny feeling that Tessa and Reed will have a reunion, and not a friendly one. Tessa will for sure start plotting her revenge on the lit ladies, and what better way to hurt Victoria than by telling Reed what she knows? Ooh, I forgot. Tessa knows the secret and would have a motive to tell Reed. Well, that would blow up probably, I mean, that would just create another wedge between her and Mariah. That would validate what Sharon has said, that Tessa's just continuing to use Mariah. Yeah, I don't know. But that's a good theory. Oh my goodness. Oh, I did not write down who said this. I'm going to look this up in a second. No, I'll pause. I apologize. I wrote down that this comment came from Tessa, and I'm pretty sure that it did not come from Tessa. It was just about Tessa. In fact, this next comment comes from Daisy. Daisy says, when did Mariah become so naive? I think Sharon was right. Tessa is running a long con. Tessa got caught, and even though it was suggested that she leave town, she's trying to find a way to stay. If Tessa were apologetic and sorry for what she did, then I don't think she would have approached Sharon and told her, in essence, that Mariah is on her side now, and Sharon better accept her if she wants to stay close with her daughter. Tessa's trying to spin things around on Sharon makes me think that she's still running her con and getting Mariah to stay with her as a part of it. But why? I think the one reason might be that Tessa's trying to get back into good graces with Devon to get his money, or to get her musical career going again, or both. And staying close with Mariah just might help her do that. what was I going to say? It's kind of clear that Tessa is doing this whole I don't want to tell you that Sharon was involved thing, because at first Tessa didn't want to tell Mariah that Sharon hadn't been involved in the kidnapping. It wasn't until Mariah was pressing that Tessa said, okay, don't go to Sharon. The reason is because she was involved too. So we're seeing these hesitations of Tessa to not tell Mariah that her mother was involved, and I think that's supposed to imply that Tessa is not trying to come between them, because Y&R's setting up this rivalry or blow up that's going to happen between Mariah and Sharon. I think Tessa is being positioned either by herself or by the writers to be a little bit innocent in that. Tessa also didn't want to tell Mariah that Sharon had blocked her from getting that job at the GCAC. I don't know if it's real and genuine. I mean, it's twice this week that Tessa has tried not to tell Mariah about something that Sharon had going on and having to say it eventually. Could that be a manipulation? Yes, certainly Y&R has established that everything Tessa does is a manipulation, for crying out loud. But as to whether or not Mariah is being manipulated by Tessa currently, I don't know. I mean, I think we are going to need some kind of strong motive in order to think that's what the case is. I don't even want to continue to focus on Tessa all that much, because I just feel like I'm having to try too hard to understand where she's coming from or to try to get anything about her character. Y&R has basically told me, by letting this character be on the show for 2 years and then spinning it around and being like, oh, kidding, everything, no, actually she was a bad guy and everything you know about her is totally false. She was running this con the whole time. They've undermined anything that I thought I knew about her. So it's totally impossible for me to trust Tessa right now. So I'm trying to focus on Mariah. It's like, Mariah, either you trust her and you want to be with her and you're in a healthy relationship with her, or you're just setting yourself up for disaster and you're looking desperate. So I'm just trying to like almost take Tessa out of the equation. Whether or not she's running a con, I don't know. At the end of the day, the only thing I do know is that Mariah has been going on and on about how much she doesn't trust her and she doesn't not sure if they can continue on and she's gonna break up with her, and then she just does the opposite of what she knows in her head is right, and I think in her heart too. She's choosing to like follow this attraction and this passion, and that'll only get you so far. I don't think it's gonna get her what she really wants. I think Mariah wants to be understood and loved and needed and to feel good and just to feel desirable, and she's pretty much said all of that. And Tessa is offering that on the short term, but if Tessa's just gonna run off and do something flaky or flighty, then that's all gonna come crashing down eventually. It's just I don't know how we're sustaining ourselves here, Mariah. I just feel like I was on with Sharon. If what we're about to see is a big old blow up between Sharon and Tessa, Sharon trying to do everything to like run Tessa out of the town, I'm sorry, but I'm feeling Sharon's position more. Gary says, why has Sharon had this blazing turnaround? It's justified, but it wasn't there before. All of a sudden, she's singing a different tune for storyline. I think that Tessa's done with being the bad girl in town, and Sharon's turnabout is just a way to facilitate their new storyline concept for that. Totally agree, Gary. Absolutely. Jamie says, on the opposite side, when Sharon launched into her tirade about, I will do whatever is necessary to keep Tessa out of your life, I found myself saying out loud, Sharon, you sound just like Nikki back in the day. Oh, that's a good pull. Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen the meddling mother storyline from Nikki, and now it looks like we're about to see it from Sharon. But as Gary mentioned, it's a blazing fast turnaround. Literally last week, Mariah is sitting there talking to Sharon, weighing the pros and cons of whether she should stay with Tessa or not. And Sharon is sitting there just, I don't know, you gotta follow your heart. And then with no prompting, really, Sharon just turns it around, and now she's bound and determined to run Tessa out of town. Doesn't make any sense. Getting me all worked up. These stories are getting me all worked up. Anna says, Sharon acted holier than thou. Like it's no big deal that she put a hood over a person's head and took them somewhere far away that they didn't want to go. Okay, so this is good conversation though. You know, I'm interested to see if we're having a knockdown drag out here between Sharon and Tessa. Which side are you standing on? I'd love to get some comments on that this week because I think that's something where you're gonna get a split. I think that's a 50-50 split type of a vote there. But Heather says if Sharon doesn't get at least an episode in a prison jumpsuit for all of her recent crimes, not to mention 20 plus years worth, conspiracy to cover up a murder, stalking, kidnapping, and psychological torture, I'm going to feel very ripped off. Her rap sheet of lying, assault, blackmail, cover-ups are far longer and include much darker criminal behavior than stealing a journal. It makes Tessa look like an angel child. Yeah, there are arguments on both sides, I'm sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, if we're gonna chalk up Sharon's rap sheet versus Tessa, then yeah, you definitely got a point. But it's almost like it's not entirely like fair to Sharon. I mean, like you're stacking up 20 years of a rap sheet, you know, on the show versus 2. But I don't know. Superplex says defending a loved one from imminent danger is not murder in any jurisdiction in the world. It is called justifiable homicide. Covering up such an act is ipso facto not a crime either. I just hate this whole thing. If they never buried that body, none of this would be happening to me right now. Superplex goes on to say, will Mariah tell Ray about the Margarita crew? Is Sharon unwittingly digging her own grave by alienating Mariah? Either way, I just hope Mariah snitches on the crew and puts an end to all this nonsense. We all know nothing's gonna come from it anyway. Yes. That is probably what it is, Superplex. We're building up this mother-daughter rivalry, big blow-up that might very well end in Mariah blabbing Sharon's biggest secret to Ray, and Ray getting stuck with the choice of whether or not he wants to cover it up. Even when the direction of the show displeases me, it still pleases me on a level because it fuels my fire for Y&R Chat. It still gives me something to talk about. And, you know, I gotta give you my opinions. I don't want to say, I mean, for as much as I do this for you know, for an hour a week, just merely right here in front of the camera, I don't want to fake it. I don't want to have to feel like I have to say something or I have to feel a certain way. You know, I like being able to be honest about the way that I see things. That's one of the appeals for me. But I also really want to make sure that everybody else feels comfortable saying what their opinions are, even if they're opposite from mine. You know, as long as everybody is respectful, that's the best way to get a good conversation going, and that's the whole point. So so even though some of this show really makes me want to wring my fists and pull my hair out, at least it makes for a good Y&R Chat. What can I say? Oh, so on that note, I hope you go to yrchat.com to sound off about all of this week. I am going to this week need to figure out what my Christmas foods that I'm going to be making are. Does anybody have a really like tried and true good recipe that I can take with me to a family event where I'm going to be driving 45 minutes to get there, so it can't really be hot? I don't really want a hot dish. because then there's also going to be some other stuff I got to do. It's going to be a 45-minute drive, plus I got to stop another place, so it's going to be a little while. It has to be something that it shouldn't be served hot, but it also kind of needs to be like not a traditional main dish, because all of that's going to be taken care of. I just need something kind of quickish and easy-ish and cold-ish to serve. Oh, and it also has to be savory, because there's also plenty of sweets. So it has to be something like on the savory side of thing. Like there's always cookies and cake and all that. Nobody needs more of that. So I got, like, I don't know, a dip or something? I don't know. If anybody has any recipes, I'm going to need to be having my grocery list made for the weekend, for next weekend. So I got all week to figure it out. So if anybody has any recommendations, I would love to hear that. I can't believe that it's Christmas time. I wouldn't have known it if I didn't see Jack decorating the tree. It was a beautiful tree though. Oh, and Victoria's house was so beautifully decorated too. I do love Christmas on Y&R. Yes. Oh, I would love to be able to decorate my house a little bit more, but my daughter would just tear down all the lights, put everything in her mouth. Maybe next year there'll be some Christmas decorating that can happen. Until then, I will just look on the screen and I will imagine that those are my homes. That I live in the Abbott mansion, and I can just prance around looking at all the lights. And you know, if I mess up some of the decorating, who cares? We'll just, the help will be in. The help can come in to just fix everything, like little elves overnight when I'm not looking. What a life. I love my Genoa City. I know you do too, so be sure to leave me those comments. I love it when you guys participate. And be sure to come back next week. That's going to be right before Christmas, so that should be a big one. Okay, everybody, I love you. Have a wonderful week.